Welcome to another Grub'N Talk Podcast. How's everybody doing today?
Doing all right.
Great.
Doing all right.
Good. We doing good? We're doing good? That's what's up. So it's the first guest that we ever have on Grub'N Talk. You should feel special. You should feel very, very special.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I know. No, we're going to do more. We're hopefully, after the virus thing comes down, we're going to get more people on the podcast, more guests. Alex, Juan back, Andy, and David, and all the crew. They're excited to come back. We're all excited to see them.
Yes,
But guys, we are at 60 subscribers now. Please help us reach 100 to get these podcasts. Yeah, we need 40 more of this podcast on every platform. But today we got a guy that's gonna show you guys or tell you guys how to make some money. But before we get into all this juicy information, tell us more about yourself. A little background.
All right, guys. Well, I grew up in the Ontario area, originally from Mexico, and went to high school, same high school you guys went to.
Yep.
And, went on to college. Then I decided I was going to be a dentist, so I went to dental school, and went to another school after that. And a few years ago, over 12 years ago now, I got into financial services. I help people with their finances, managing their money, helping them how to, do the right things with their money.
Nice. So you say you were from Mexico?
Yes.
And you came to the U.S. You went to high school. You went to college. So you did what? Every Mexican, most Mexican Americans do, like first generation, second generation Mexican Americans do. They go to college to get a better job, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. What school did you go to?
I went to Cal Poly Pomona. I was there about 4 years. I did a biology degree, and then I went to UCLA School of Dentistry. And then after 4 years, I went to the University of Washington in Seattle and did a residency there. And then after that, I came back to the Southern California area.
You went to UCLA and Washington. That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
I was reading not too long ago that, I forgot the percentage, but the tuition back then and tuition now is like way different.
Yes. Well, I know
price-wise.
I know dental school for me, and this was 23 years ago, was $100,000. That's how much I owed back then. Now, if you want to go into this career, it's going to cost you like $300,000 to $400,000.
Wow. $300,000 to $400,000. But is that because I know we have a lot of our viewers, they're if they're not in college, they just came out of college, kind of thing like that. Or they've been out, or they're about to graduate too, without a ceremony, because no ceremonies are going on right now. And most of them that are in different fields really come out and never really worked jobs that they want to work. Is that the same thing for like dentists and doctors, or?
No, I think the demand for health professionals is there, right? I don't think there's lack of jobs for that because the demand for health is always going to be there. So I can only speak to that or to financial services. Those needs are always going to be necessary. So the demand for those jobs or positions or businesses are always there.
So you went to school for what is 8 years or?
After high school,
yeah.
I did 9 years of training.
So you went 9 years for training, and then how long were you a dentist for until you switched over?
At least 12 years.
So you went to school for 9 years, and then you were practicing for 12 years. That's what, 21 years, and then all of a sudden you're like, I kind of want to do finances now, or what's up?
Okay, I see. Well, I still practice dentistry, but I got introduced to a different career, a different business, and I just kind of fell in love with it. I really felt that financing or finances is something that we're not really educated on. Right. When it comes to our education, whether it's high school, college, or anything higher. So we come out of school making some money. We start buying things. We start getting into further debt. And we start making some financial mistakes, and I kind of learned through this business how to basically fix that. And, hopefully we can share some concepts with you guys today.
Yeah. Because a lot of, like I was saying, a lot of viewers are if they're not in college, they're, if they're not going into college, they're in college, or they're not in college coming out of college. And a lot of them have like student debt. like say credit cards, car notes. A lot of them are not at the position where they can buy a home yet, but they have debt. They have, they owe a lot. Can they really get out of debt, like on a 9 to 5 kind of thing, living paycheck to paycheck? Is there ways to do that?
I think so. Obviously, the more money you make, the easier it is for anybody to get rid of their debt. But if you have a plan, and that's what most people don't have, is a plan to how to get out of debt. Most people think, I'm going to set extra here. I'm going to pay the highest interest one first. And then before you know it, you're still doing that for 10, 15 years later, And so I teach people a systematic way to get rid of the debt with the same budget that you currently have, So what is missing is really a plan, and that's what most people don't know how to do.
Don't know how to put a plan. So, like even obviously, like you said, if you make more money, it's easier, but a lot of people that make more money sometimes tend to get into more debt too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You may buy a bigger car, a nicer car, a bigger home, a bigger vacation, and sometimes, all that may be debt.
Yeah. But even though let's say you don't make that much money, you still, living paycheck to paycheck, because most middle class Americans do. There's still hope to get out of debt, and be able to get ahead in your financial life.
Yes. What you got to do is you got to see how much money is coming in and how much money is going out, and that's really what a budget is, and if you really focus where your money's going and you say to yourself, is that really important? Do I really need it? For instance, like if you buy a car, why not buy a used car that has only like 25, 30,000 miles and it's about maybe $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 less than what you would buy it, when you straight from a dealership as a new car. You can still get a quality car, that has a few miles. My last car only had 12,000 miles, and I saved off at least $25,000 off the sticker price.
Wow. So, you would recommend don't buy like a brand new car?
I've done it before, but now the cars that I buy are just a couple years old. Somebody leased it, and only put the maximum miles you can put into a lease, and you get it out of the dealer and it's in good shape. So it's like a brand new car, really.
Certified and all that.
What's the craziest debt like you helped somebody, come out of?
There was a couple that I always share this with some of my clients, is that they used to live in a back house, almost like a garage that was converted to a house. And I met with them. They had some debt, car payments, credit card payments. And again, they didn't have their own house yet. And then I showed them how to basically strategize to get out of that debt. And then a couple of years later, when I call them up to just follow up, see how they're doing, right? And they said, well, we don't live where we used to live. Here's our new address, right? So I'm like, all right, wrote it down, show up, and it's a big house. I'm like, wow. I said, how did you guys get into this house? He says, well, you showed us how to get out of debt. As soon as we got out of debt, we started saving that money, right? That over $2,000 of debt every month. And then we saved it for a few months, and that was our down payment towards this house. And I'm like, wow, so that was one of my proudest moments, I think, and a lot of my clients follow those concepts that I teach them, because like we always say, most people don't plan to fail. They fail to plan, right? Mm-hmm. And if you have a plan, it's like a GPS, it's just like I arrived here, right, to the studio, by a GPS, and it guaranteed me I was going to get there, right? So everybody needs a financial GPS.
Yo, side note, he was the first one to never call and be like, hey, where are you guys at? He just popped up to the door. We're like, oh, damn. Good thing we weren't talking smack.
But yeah, that's crazy.
No, that's crazy. So you helped them get out of debt, and then they purchased a home. Because I know I have a lot of friends that they're millennials, they're in the age of 26, 27, when they're like, oh my God, you know what? It's not that bad for them right now with the coronavirus going on. So they're waiting for the houses to go down to be able to buy a home, So I can relate to what you're saying. But a lot of people do finance. I ask them, like, why is it that you do it? Why is it that you do finances? Is it because of money? Because you like helping people?
Well, you got to have a love to what you do, And I feel that I impact people's lives much deeper, and so it's something that I enjoy doing, it's a lot of hard work, certainly the rewards are great too. But it's really just a passion for what I do. When I could change people's lives, when I could, most people suffer from debt, right? And that causes stress, causes, fights between couples. Yeah. And, it prevents you from really accomplishing other goals and dreams that you want to do, right? And so by just having a cure for that, which is just having a plan on how to pay it off, allows you to accomplish those things. And that's just rewarding for me, Yeah.
We're still like in the middle of the COVID-19, pandemic, but how has that impacted the finance industry?
Well, I think a lot of people have realized that their jobs are not secure, right? A lot of people got laid off because the whole country got shut down, right? But because of that, a lot of people are going to be permanently laid off because a lot of businesses are not going to be able to come back, right? So it's really important. Part of the things that I teach is you got to have an emergency fund, right? And so people are realizing that more than ever. They're like, wow, I wish I had some savings, Well, you shouldn't have spent all that money on Amazon or, shop online and all that stuff, right? I mean, the checks that people, the stimulus checks that people are receiving or got, wasn't meant to go out and really shop. It's meant to be able to, maybe survive off of it, And so emergency fund is fundamental to somebody's financial plan, And so that's what people need to do. Because this virus is not here today and gone tomorrow. It will continue to be around, and there will be other viruses that will, put us in the same situation. So more than ever, you got to start saving.
Damn, if this is not like a wake up call to get an emergency fund, because there is a lot of people that got laid off, and they are doing like a lot of things where if you can't pay your mortgage or you can't pay rent, they don't evict you, something like that. But it is really important to have an emergency fund. Is it something that's very accessible to get? Is it expensive?
No, an emergency fund is basically a savings that you're able to do based on your budget. Some people, it could be $50. Some people could be $100. Some people it's $500 a month, And so it really starts by looking at your expenses and see what you have remaining. And we always teach people, pay yourself first, And what that means is that once you get your paycheck from work, the first expense you should pay besides the taxes, because you've already paid that, is pay yourself first, right? So instead of paying all your bills first, your car payment, your credit card, your rent, and all these other things, and then you go and party a little bit, by the time you realize it's like you got nothing left. But get in a habit, really, of paying yourself first, that $50, $100, pay your bills, and then whatever is left, then party with it and have some fun.
So when is it like the correct time to like start investing or start saving or start getting serious about, like, what age should you hit where you're like, okay, you know what, I really need to get serious about it?
I think if you could do that as soon as you start having a stable job, where you're working for a company, a business, and you get a steady paycheck, that's really the time to start investing. And that could be at age 20, early 20s. So why? Because by the time you get to maybe 28, 30 years of age, you're looking at now purchasing a house, because that is the age more or less where you should be looking at, moving out of your parents' home and having, your own life and, your own family. So, but again, it takes time, because if you're not saving by the time you get to 28 and 30, you realize that you don't have anything and you're still going to be, living with your parents or somebody else.
Do you know a lot of people that you try to, help and assist where you're like, you know what, it might take you a little bit longer, because they didn't maybe, set a game plan before?
Yeah, I think for the average person, first of all, by eliminating their debt, and that may take maybe a year or two, really, if you focus on it, versus 7 to 10 years for most people. That 7 to 10 year debt, we can reduce it down to maybe 1 to 2 years.
Wow.
So in 1 to 2 years, now you start focusing really on, if you were spending $500 to $1,000 towards debt, well, imagine saving that $500 to $1,000, in 2 years, and you do that for about 3 to 4 years. Well, how much money are you going to have? Plus, if you put it in the right, vehicle, which is, we advise people to put it in mutual funds. That's what I help people with. So that can help, grow as the market is also growing. So the right time to invest is, once you have a stable job, be saving a little bit of money, get a plan to pay off the debt. As soon as you pay off the debt, start putting more money away, right? Start investing more money.
But a lot of people are scared of investing in the market because, their information comes from like the news or, a post on Facebook
or YouTubers that really don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, you have to, investing really is a long-term plan, right? You can't invest for short-term, because the market, is volatile, short-term like it is right now. Right now, it's not stable. It went down. It's gone up a little bit. It's kind of up and down every day. We don't know what's going to happen, but even in the downturn like what it is now, that's actually the best opportunity to get into the market because you're getting into it in the low side. It's like if you were going to buy a house, would you buy the house when it's at the highest price, or would you buy it when it's at the lowest price, right? Lowest. So when you're investing by buying what we call shares, right? So those shares are valued low right now. So this is the best time to actually invest.
So it's better to, buy when it's low, but then there's a lot of people that'll be like, well, right now it's high. I'll just wait until it gets low to buy. But then is that like recommended? Like hold on to see if it drops and then start investing, or just invest?
Well, at this point, because the market dropped significantly, I would certainly start investing. If you're talking about investing $50, $100, to start a month on a monthly basis, even if the market goes down, a little bit more, it's not going to be impacting you so much.
So yeah, because a lot of people think that to invest you need a lot of money.
No, that is a misconception. It really depends who you're talking to. Most companies do require people to have a significant amount of money, like over $100,000 to start investing. Fortunately, I'm able to sit down with people, just ordinary, blue collar workers, hardworking people, and start a savings account, an investment account with $50. Yeah, so it's very doable.
What do you think about those day trade apps, like the investor apps, like Robinhood and all that?
Well, I mean, it's still what you're doing is you're more like a day trader, right? And so again, investments should be done more long term,
right?
Because you can get hurt if you're investing on a day to day.
How do you feel like how any average person can just like make an account and then start investing rather than going to someone who knows how to like where to put it or how to manage it?
Yeah, I think I think it may be riskier because you really have to, first of all, to be a significant investor, you really have to have a lot of money to do that, because if you're, investing $50,000 in one day, you can make quite a bit of money, right? But then same token, you can also lose quite a bit of money. So it's a lot riskier. A mutual fund is totally different, where you have maybe 250 companies that your money's going towards, all right? And some companies may be up, some companies may be down, but it's managed properly professionally so that, long term, your goal is going to be accomplished, right? But again, it's more of a long term. Right. Long term meaning like, even a year or two, compared to 1 day or two, right? But realistically, it could be 5 years, 10 years, and then certainly for building real wealth or retirement, it's going to be 30 to 40 years.
So, what is the goal with like having stocks? It's like just hold on to them as much as possible when they're high, sell them, or?
Yeah, I mean, as far as making money in stocks, right, or even in mutual funds, obviously the goal is to get into these stocks or mutual funds at a low price and hope that in the future, right? And the market always has gone up versus there's more positive years than negative years. So in the future, when you really need the money, you hope that the market is up and then you sell those shares at a higher price and that's how you profit.
Okay.
What's the biggest or one of the biggest or some of the biggest mistakes you see that like, people in their 20s do financially that kind of like sets them back?
I think, it could be just lack of money management, debt for sure is one of the things, because once you start working, you have a job, you think you can own the world and you start spending money, buying a nice car, and there's nothing wrong with a nice car. But like I said, I would recommend just buy a used car. When you can pay a car cash, that's when you should be buying that expensive car, but that will take several years. Avoid, using credit cards that you are not able to pay. It's good to use credit cards, right? Because that builds your credit, right? Versus just using your ATM. I recently actually learned this, that, most people use an ATM, right? Mm-hmm. And that's great because you're like paying cash for it, right? But is that building up your credit? No. So if you use a credit card, right, that you can manage for your daily expenses, like your gas, your food, right? For example, well, every time you use that credit and you pay it, that's going to help your credit. Right. So by the time you are 26, 27, 20, 30 years old and you're ready to buy a house, guess what? Your credit's going to be really good. Because even if you have good, if you have a down payment and things like that and bad credit, it's going to be hard to buy a house.
Yeah. Damn, words of wisdom. I told you guys.
Because even with I know with apartments, like if you don't have a good credit, you usually do like twice the rent on the first month or something like that.
Oh, you pay like the first and the last month?
Yeah, no, but usually like double up the first one if you don't have good credit or something like that, I heard.
Yeah, so it's good to build the credit, use the credit cards, but pay them off, so like, manage them. I mean, paying off, even if you pay it off in a month or two versus years later, because that's going to help you build credit, because your ATM does not build you any credit, right? And you're doing the same thing. You're just swiping it, right? So maybe spend, if you can spend $500, $1,000 on a credit card every month on your normal expenses, at the end of the month you pay it off, right? And make sure you budget, because don't think that your ATM account is still available, right? And then pay it off, and that just increase your credit score and build your credit.
That's crazy.
So basically, like, switch your ATM for your credit card. Don't be using your credit and your ATM at the same time.
Correct.
Yeah. So kind of like use your credit card and then at the end of the month just pay, but just use it for the
essentials,
essentials or day-to-day bills you pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Smart, juicy information. What is like maybe not the craziest, but let's say crazy, like or like a crazy story that you have with like a client that like you share with people?
Absolutely. Yeah. Years ago, I helped this couple with a financial, program and analysis that we do, see where they're at and where they could be. And in that process, we determined that the husband was not insured, meaning he didn't have a life insurance policy. The wife was paying too much for her policy, right? So I took the budget from her expensive policy to insure both of them, right? And showed them how to get out of debt, right? And showed them how to, save for retirement. And unfortunately, a couple years later, this gentleman, the husband, passes away, right? So it's a sad story, but it's a testimonial of what I do, because if I wouldn't have been able to help them 2 years before, that family would be struggling even further, So we educate people how to get out of debt, how to be properly protected, right? And how to become financially independent, right? But to do that, you really have to have a plan.
Yeah.
You know, and the great thing is that we do that complimentary. Basically, it's a free program that we provide, and that helps us basically understand what the problems are and how to give solutions.
Yeah, that's
So we're all gonna line up after to
Yeah,
talk
no,
to him.
yeah.
I mean, we're gonna put some information, you know, down below. So where can they find you? Like Facebook?
I'll give you my Facebook account,
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah, those are, and then they could email me, and certainly, you know, keep things confidential with people.
I mean, for all the people that are watching, listening, you know, most of you guys are, like I said, you guys are smart people, so you guys understand the power of knowledge. And if I would recommend to check out his links and check him out, talk to him. You know, like you said, you'll do it confidential. It was like a one-on-one thing.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You know, and learn something, because I mean, we learned something. I mean, today.
Yeah, honestly, like before we talk with my uncle, I didn't know why people would do car washes when people would pass away, but that's because they didn't have a plan and they didn't have money to, you know, for the burial and stuff like that. So with the life insurance and all that, like, you don't have to really do car washes and stuff like that. And so, like, growing up, I really didn't think like, oh, you know, why they're doing car washes, but like now I like understand why, because people, like, families are struggling to like pay for the stuff.
For the burial and all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's crazy stuff. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to another Grub'N Talk podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Please leave your comments down below. And like I said, check out his stuff. It's really good information. It's really, really, really good information. I mean, like I said, it's, you know, knowledge is power. You know, learn more. Learn about your finances. Something that's actually going to follow you all the way until you die. Straight up. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. See you guys soon on the next episode.